welcome. We are going to get started right on time. I am so excited to share today's session because not only am I really passionate and excited about sharing this topic, I am excited to see what each and every one of you do once you have it in your hands, ready to go, hopefully nicely packaged up. So if you want to take a moment and introduce yourselves in the chat, I always say if you are here for today's session, you are somebody who really understands that the AI and cheating, AI detector conversation needs to end. And you're also somebody who wants to do something about it. So I feel like everybody in here should get to know each other. So if you want to take a moment, go ahead, introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know what you do and why you're here today. Wow, what a fantastic group of people. Yeah, so go ahead and share in the chat. Hopefully, this is also our nice chat test to make sure everything's all working okay. There we go. Hi, nice to see you. There we go. Really nice international group here. We did two time zones today, and I feel like it worked out well. Amazing, amazing. I am so excited to have you all here. All right, so with that, go ahead, keep introducing yourself. Q&A is open, chat is open. If you have any comments or questions along the way, I have it right up here on the side for me to see. Everything I share with you today and more, I have ready, packaged to go to be able to give you, because like I said, I really hope this is something you're able to take with you as well. So our goal today is to look at the first step in helping people stop asking, how do we stop using, how do we stop students from using AI? And, how do we get AI detectors and how do we stop cheating? To having a bit of a different mindset. And that is, how do we begin to teach everyone, both young people and older people, how to make good decisions when using their technology? So this is really the goal of today, is to look at how we help others make this mindset shift, because I will say I probably shouldn't be, but I am a little bit surprised how still today, many of the places I go, a lot of people, especially in leadership roles, ask me, well, everyone's asking us about AI detectors. What do we say? Everyone's still talking about cheating. What do we say? This group just wants to go back to pen and paper. What should we say? So the goal for me today is to be able to really package up talking points and an experience that you could go back and replicate for other people to be able to help others really just like kill this conversation so we can get to the bigger, more important ones about assessment, about learning, and just like what we want things to look like moving forward. So today there are I want to also say what today is not. There are so many layers and facets to this conversation, everything from culture and trust building to assessment and how to redesign assessments and all of that. This particular session and this particular experience is designed to help people do a mindset shift so that they can even get ready to have those bigger, more ambitious conversations. Because otherwise, if they don't actually understand the urgency and depth of what AI really is right now and what it is becoming, we still are very much seeing, even with the people that are doing things, a very substitution-like approach. Oh, we used to do things this way. Now we just use AI to do them a bit faster and a bit better. So we really want to help people get more ambitious about what teaching and learning need to look like. And over the past, I would say 8 months, this is a workshop that I'm going to share with you today that we've been doing, like honestly, like across the globe now, thanks to many of our international partners here. And it just has resonated so, so well. So I'm really excited to share it. So these are the three mindset shifts that we are looking to help people make. We want people to not think of, having to give kids rules. We want them to focus more on values. We don't want them to be focusing on cheating. We want them to be focusing on collaboration, and we don't want them to see AI as something that people are using just to take a shortcut, which, by the way, people are saying for both adults and kids. We need people to understand that AI has helped us to be better at strategy and all the other things it is that we do. And one of the quotes that I heard in January of this year that really I just loved and I think really connects to what we're going to talk about today is the COO of LinkedIn did an article saying the number one interview question everyone should be able to answer in 2025 is, tell me a story about a time you used AI at work or at home? And there's two things that really resonate with me from this that I'm like, oh, like you're not asking how to use AI as an engineer getting ready to code in this scenario, how to use AI as a teacher getting ready to plan a fifth grade literacy lesson, right? Like, no, this is just like, hey, how are you using AI at home or at work? And when somebody says a story, what they're looking for is to hear what prompted you to start. What was the beginning, middle, and end? What went well and what was hard? They're looking to learn all these things about you, about your personality, and how you adapt to change. By adding at work or at home, it tells us they're not really worried about can you use AI in your job for this particular task. They just want to know your personality. Are you resilient? Are you flexible? Are you motivated to learn? Can you learn independently? Are you somebody who can adapt? There's all these different qualities they're looking to hear about you, not so much the technical aspect. And one of the most dangerous things that I see happening right now when we work with kids, they are very much like, I don't use AI. It's bad. It's cheating. And that to me is like career suicide. If you're going into an interview and someone's asking you that question, there is a huge difference between the person that's going to be able to talk about how they made a decision, how they were thoughtful about their approach, versus the person who thinks they're answering it the right way by saying, "Oh, I don't use AI. Like that's so unethical. I would never. I'm just going to use my own brain." So we want to make sure that we're really preparing our kids with the right knowledge and the right information as they go out. So I have three goals for us today. Number one, what is an activity that we can use to actually begin to shift that conversation? And I'm so excited. I've done it a couple times and it's so much fun. Number two, once we do get people to shift their mindset, what is a practical framework we can give them so they can do something today? And number three, how can I best support you in being able to lead and facilitate that conversation? So for three, just so you know, at the end of today, I will share and in a follow-up email. So even if you can't stay for the whole thing, don't worry. I'm going to package this all in an email for you as well. But I have like, I hate calling it a course, but it's like basically like a mini little baby course with 4 video lessons. And the video lessons are there to give you the talking points to be able to go and facilitate this with people in your organization. So there's 4 different topics that we have. It's preparing learners for an AI world, academic integrity in the age of AI, which is basically like scenarios, which I'll walk you through in a moment. AI in the workplace, what are the skills people are looking for? And then how to actually teach AI skills in the classroom. So now that you understand it, you've made the mindset shift and you're like, okay, I'm teaching this lesson tomorrow. What can I do? We have some prompts, scenarios, and a whole facilitator guide that will walk you through how you can do this. And the whole experience itself is about 60 minutes. If you had 90 minutes, great, but you can totally do it in 60 minutes. This is what the course looks like. You can see it's super short. These are all the different like modules, and there's like 1 to 2 videos in each one. It's super short. I feel like most people here know me, but if you don't, my name is Saba, and I started my career back when 2007, so during the recession-ish time, kind of like what we're going through right now, but I feel like it wasn't as bad back then now, as a high school history teacher. So I have a lot of experience just like working with high school kids, and I feel like that's why when I see people like wanting to do traffic lights and rules and these things, I'm just like, oh, like it's just mean. It's just mean. It's not friendly, and it's not a good way to build culture and trust in your classroom, and it's definitely not a good way to build relationships. Like I always say, like we don't like stand at the altar and get ready to get married with red, yellow, and green and telling our partners what it is we want them to do. We lead with values, we lead with respect, and I think that's the same kind of energy I'm looking at least to be able to bring into the classrooms as we think about this conversation. So with that, let's get into step 1, okay? And I am watching the chat, and so if there's anything that, like I said, comes up along the way, or you're like, pause up, like I have a question, rewind, just let me know, because that to me is the biggest benefit of being live, is you can get those kinds of questions answered. Okay, so step number 1 is all about being able to shift people's mindset. And what I've come to learn is I think a lot of times in the classroom, and honestly, you can put this for any industry, not every single person is on the news every single day, following every AI company on Twitter, reading what exactly is happening, what are people saying. Also, not a lot of people are paying for the tools. And so you have a lot of people that, quite frankly, I think just don't know about how advanced AI is and how integrated it perhaps is into areas of society. And if you're like a power user, that's probably really weird to you. But there are a lot of people out there that just don't get a lot of exposure to a lot of the things that perhaps you do. So the very first thing we're looking to do before we even talk about anything is to give people some exposure. And the way we do this is through a gallery walk. Now, as people go through the gallery walk, okay, which kind of looks a little bit like this, it's literally just like 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper that you just put up in different parts of your room. And I have them in a PDF for you inside the course. You can add to these, you can change these, do whatever you want. And then I leave some blank post-its around the paper. And as they're walking around, these are just 2 prompts they can use. How might this relate to your role as an educator? And if this quote or statistic or whatever I have up is true, what might need to change in schools? It is a fascinating conversation. So let's just take one, for example. There's this one over here by Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA. And he says, if there's one thing I would encourage everybody to do, so these are all recent, by the way, all from 2025, that there's one thing I would encourage everybody to do, it's get yourself an AI tutor. All those things are going to make you feel empowered. And I think that's going to be the future. So if I'm an educator and I'm reading this, and here's this big CEO who's like powering this like AI revolution saying, hey, everyone should have an AI tutor. What does that mean for you and what might need to change? So you can see over here, people are asking, is the tutor AI or human? AI, sometimes they're a little hard to read. This is where we use ChatGPT to scan these post-its and be able to get the answers. Getting people to connect about AI, dive in yourself, don't be afraid. So you can just see people just start writing different things. But what's also really amazing is that they're walking around. So they're talking to each other, they're having conversations, and they're just getting a chance to absorb and learn, I think sometimes with things that they might otherwise just not see. So these are some of the quotes that are posted. In your packet, you will also see some really interesting statistics. I took the ones that people screenshot or take a photo of the most when I'm doing these presentations, and that's what you're going to find in the PDF. But this is still a big one. It's from 2023, but I don't think much has changed, unfortunately. 66% of leaders are worried about plagiarism, but 52% of kids are worried someone's going to accuse me. So again, right, like really toxic environment to be in. For employers, totally different story. And I will say this is really one that resonates with especially high school teachers I've found. They don't want their kids graduating unprepared and they want to do everything they can to help them be ready. They just don't know a lot of this info. But in the workplace, 66% of employers are like, if you don't have AI skills, like we don't even want to hire you. And 71% say we would rather have people with AI skills than work experience. And who are the people that don't have a lot of years of work experience? It's young kids, right? It's high school and college graduates. So this is a really exciting opportunity if we can help position young people with strong AI skills to be able to go into these organizations and be able to showcase what they can do. We have another set of graphics, which are just like stats about skills. This one really resonates, like resilience, flexibility, motivation, empathy, lifelong learning. This is another one that people love. Again, similar, it's to show that there's a theme going around. It's not just one person saying it, it's many people who are saying it. So anyways, people come, they look at this. This is another fun one. Andreas Horn, who's the head of AI ops at IBM, said today's computer science graduates are competing with these different applications. And these are all apps like AI agents, coding apps, things like that. So again, it's a really rich conversation for people to just absorb and have some exposure. How does this relate to your role? If this is true, what needs to change? Because it's debatable, right? Some people are like, oh, well, I don't believe everyone's going to have an AI tutor and this and that. And it's fine. Let people have their opinions. It's that discussion and conversation that happens that leads everybody to one conclusion. They might say it in a different way. And this is where you as the facilitator will kind of like pull these different themes out that you're hearing from them. But the biggest theme that comes from this sort of gallery walk is AI won't replace you, but making bad decisions when using AI will. People talk about the importance of equity. People talk about the importance of being educated about AI. People talk about people being empowered. At the core of all of that is your ability to make a decision, right? I can't be empowered if I don't know anything about my topic or if I have the wrong information about my topic. So really, really, really fantastic conversation. Now, once people get to a point where they have had some exposure, they're talking about these topics and they're in a little bit of a like, okay, it's not as like, wow, this might be a bit bigger than I thought it was. they're ready to understand why such a simplistic traffic light style approach to teaching AI is probably not the best way to go. You don't want your kids walking into an interview saying, how do I use AI? I don't know. Do you have your red, yellow light traffic system that tells me when I can and cannot use it? Like, in this particular scenario, the teacher is the one making the decision. The teacher is the one doing the thinking. We need to switch that over and have a balance where we're teaching our kids to do the thinking and our kids to do the decision making, but having transparency and knowing how that's happening. And this first started, the first time I ever did this was last year when there were a group of 15 international schools in Central America. And they basically were like, we're bringing together 300 students for a leadership retreat. We've got 3 days and we want to teach them about AI. And like I said, I taught middle and high school. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to middle and high school students with like traffic lights, like they will like boo me off a stage. But the challenge they wanted to solve for was how do we help them understand balancing innovation and integrity? And that's when we came up with the framework called WISE. And you might have already seen a little bit of this, but once people have done the gallery walk, it takes about 15 minutes in your session. They're now ready to be like, okay, well, how do we help them make decisions and what can we do? And I want to share that while WISE is one approach, you could come up with any set of your own questions or your own acronym or anything at all. So WISE is basically just 4 questions. And we want you as young people, and actually in a lot of places we do this with adults too, just having these questions in the back of your head and answering them as you do assignments. Because right now, there's a lot of places still where high school students don't have an official AI tool as part of their school, just because technology is not there for it. It's like age and all that kind of stuff. But just because they don't formally have an AI tool from the school doesn't mean we can't start helping them think about how they make decisions when they're using it, even if they're doing it on their own time. So again, this really goes back to the importance of decision making, not so much just AI. And they can use this with AI, or they can use this with anything at all. But in this one, the W is around well-being. How does using AI impact my well-being and those around me? And the reason this one became really important was a lot of times when we do find kids that use it in the wrong way and we ask them like, well, why did you do this? It's like, well, I was stressed and I had a lot of homework and it's I. And a lot of times they just don't realize that their bad use of AI and their bad decisions can have a ripple effect if it's a group project or there's other people who are involved. The second question we like them to answer is am I using AI with integrity in a way that's honest and fair? And this is really eye-opening in the workshop with adults because you'll very quickly learn people define honest and fair in very different ways. The other one is skills. What am I learning when I use AI and what might I be missing out on? And again, it's not to say that what you're missing out on is bad and now you're going to become dumb. It's awareness. We just need to be aware so that we are in control of the technology instead of it being vice versa. And last but not least is E. How does using AI help me better engage with what I'm doing? Or should I have just not used AI at all and like, oh, I was just going to ChatGPT for no reason? So again, we're really trying to lean in here into awareness. We get so much amazing feedback on people who have used this, but this one in particular was just one of my favorites. This is from Dr. Adenehe, and one of the things that she did was she was doing a Gen AI manifesto. And if you haven't seen these, I'd highly recommend like going to her LinkedIn profile because she shared a lot on this. But she has her kids do these like manifestos around how they're using AI. And one of the students said the WISE framework was useful not only for AI, but all meaningful interactions. And this one to me is just really important because we spend so much time digital literacy, AI literacy, media literacy, this, like we have so many different literacies. To me, they can all be bucketed under one thing, and that is good decision making. Do we understand how to make good decisions with the tools, the technologies, and the things that we have access to? And are we aware of the influence that they are having on us? I'll tell you the other reason that a lot of people don't understand why this is so important is decision making is the number one way in which we're training AI tools right now. So when we look at why AI tools are becoming more advanced, which even that some people will like debate you on, but like let's just agree that like these tools can do pretty amazing things. The reasoning they give behind it is that they are training the models to spend more time thinking through problems They are training the models to learn how to refine their thinking. They are training the models to try different strategies and recognize their mistakes. And what I ask people is, how often do you give your kids the chance to do this, right? We don't really want to be living in a world, at least I don't want to be living in a world where machines are getting these opportunities, but humans are being given traffic lights, right? So decision making is the core of everything today for both human machines, for better or for worse. And the way in which this first really came about most recently, and why we're seeing this really become such a big topic right now, is if you saw the Chinese AI model DeepSeek was the first to show how the model was reasoning. So last year in September, OpenAI added reasoning, but they weren't showing us how it was reasoning. It was sort of like, you know, when you ask people to like turn on their math homework and like show their work. I'll play this video for you here. This is a prompt with DeepSeek. You can do this with ChatGPT. Even now, Perplexity just added it for free too. Everyone thinks they can tell when kids are using AI to write. So write a story that takes them by surprise, leaves them speechless as they read this, and shows them we need to start paying attention to how you write and how you help write from a 10th grade struggling writer. So you can see over here, when I press play, instead of just immediately giving me a story, do you see over here, it's like, oh, so the user wants this. First, I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to include these details. I need to make sure I include this. And now the story is going to be generated for me. So like that thought process that the AI models are now showing us is their reasoning. And my sort of like cases, we need to help kids do the same as well. They need to be sharing their reasoning and their thinking and how they're using these technologies, not just being told you can use it here, but you can't use it here. So like I said, I'm going to include all of this for you. But the reason, like I said, again, it's so important to know this part. It's not just the Chinese AI model that did this. The Chinese AI model was the catalyst, but not only did the Chinese AI model make this the catalyst for making AI models show their reasoning, it also made everybody else be more generous in their free versions. So kids right now have a very, if you're still using the free version of ChatGPT, which most of them are, it's a very basic version. It's not very good. But now, when ChatGPT 5, like Sam Altman just announced, ChatGPT 5 is going to be free and it's going to include reasoning. Perplexity just added deep research and reasoning into the free version. You get 5 uses every single day. If I'm a kid and I got a free version of ChatGPT, I got a free version of Perplexity, that is at a minimum 10 uses for me every single day. I don't think they need much more than that. So it's really important for us to know that kids are going to have a much more advanced AI technology in their hands very, very soon. If not today, even if they were using Perplexity. So how do we help people see these complexities? We use scenarios. So you do the gallery walk, you walk people through the WISE framework really quickly, but instead of spending too much time talking about WISE, you give them scenarios and they apply it to the scenario they're reading. I love this quote from Marcus Aurelius: everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not a truth. So the scenarios are something like this. So one of them is like called a birthday speech. And in the course, I have a prompt for you for if you want to make up your own scenarios, what you can type in to generate your own. But we do scenarios like this, okay? So like Alex is excited, and if you want to join in and tell me if you agree or disagree, that would be fun. But Alex is excited about his best friend Mia's 14th birthday party. They've been friends since kindergarten, and Alex kind of has a crush on Mia. He wants to make the day really special for her, and he says, I'm going to give a speech. But then he's like, oh, what am I going to say? I don't have the right words. So he goes to ChatGPT for some help. He shares all the memories that he and Mia has, and ChatGPT creates this amazing speech. He's nervous, but he's practicing. And at the party, everyone's like, oh my God, Alex, your speech was amazing. Mia pulls Alex aside and she's like, that was such a great speech, and gives him a little kiss on the cheek. Alex is like all kinds of emotions. He is really proud of the speech and how it went. He's excited that, like, Mia really liked it. But he's like, oh, like, should I have used ChatGPT? Like, was that okay? So I don't know. You tell me in the chat. Do you think it was okay for Alex to use ChatGPT to write the speech? Yes or no? Oh, you guys are all so nice. I tell you, I get so many people at a workshop that are like, I would never want a speech from somebody if my boyfriend wrote it with ChatGPT. So So again, it just goes to show you like, yeah, exactly. It's like all perspective, right? But there's a lot of people who are just like, well, they should have like, done it themselves and this and that. And there's no right or wrong, right? It's just, like whatever your perspective is. But the point of this is to show people, and this is just the first one. We have another one, which is a group project. Okay. And this is a really important one, I think, for kids to know, especially when it comes to the well-being. Like it's not just about you, it's like can have effect on other people too. In this one, it's, an eighth grade class, they have a group project and they've got to create this like presentation. But of course, they can't coordinate their schedules. They've got extracurriculars, they're busy with sports, all these other things. And so one person is like, well, why don't we just use ChatGPT? And everyone in the group agrees. They're like, oh, yeah, good idea. And presentation day comes, they've got polished slides, they've got a great script, they deliver it. But then the teacher starts asking questions and they don't know how to answer. And one person gets really uncomfortable and it's like, oh my God, I didn't learn, I didn't do this, and all that kind of stuff. So this one is like, should they have used it? Yes or no? And when you have like, so like I said, we do this with kids and we do this with adults. Even in the chat, you can kind of see, thanks. Hopefully I'm saying your name, Macon, correctly. It would have been fine for Alex to go to a friend. So it would have been asked for the speech to go to somebody else. And it should be fine for him to go to ChatGPT too. Yeah, I mean, like I said, everybody just has such a different thought process for how they think what is okay and what isn't okay. And when things are changing as drastically as they are right now, just giving people some time to process and even just share how they're feeling and what they think is okay, what they think isn't okay. Again, our goal is not to get people to agree on a right or a wrong. It's to get them to understand complexity. Look, nobody agrees. People have different opinions in the room, and that is the only thing you need your people to walk away with. That, hey, this person can have this opinion, this person can have this opinion. And that doesn't happen in the world with traffic lights. No matter what language you speak, no matter what country you're in, red, yellow, green, we don't debate red, yellow, green, right? If you go on red, chances are you're going to cause an accident. There's no gray area around any of those colors. Whereas with AI, there's a lot of gray. And as the tools get better and better, how we approach them has to change as well. And that all goes back to being empowered as a decision maker in how you use these tools. So I'll share this deck with you. So a little hard to hear some of the videos, but you can see over here, like even within some of the scenarios, like the kids, they don't agree. They give it different scores, they do all that kind of stuff. I will also say this workshop for the first 40 minutes is pen and paper and Post-its. We are huge fans of Post-its, but when we do the scenarios, and I have 4 scenarios as a PDF that you can print ready for you inside the course. They look like this. We print the scenario, super short. They read them really quickly. And then sometimes we'll give them a rubric and they just grade. Okay, what was the score that you gave? We compare and contrast the scores, and then they share why they graded the person that way. Sometimes if it's a really big group, okay, if it's a really big workshop you're hosting, also do this during keynotes, by the way. It's like a fan favorite keynote activity. And people can vote, or you can use Padlet. You just put the rows or columns, sorry, for the different scenarios, and everybody goes in as a group and puts in their response, and they get to see how they rank them and how they do things in different areas. This is an individual activity, right? Like on a one-off, like 60-minute workshop type thing. But if you're doing this with a class, or honestly, even for yourself, we encourage a monthly journal reflection as well. Be video, written, whatever you want, where you answer 2 questions. Number 1, that interview question. Tell me a story about how you used AI at home or at school. If you're an adult, we would do work. Include details about what you tried, how it helped or didn't help, and what you learned from using AI in that experience. And number 2, what personal growth or learning have you noticed in your use of AI? How has your confidence, creativity, or understanding changed? So again, you can see we're really, really trying to build in self-awareness, metacognition, and just getting people to be more aware about how this technology is impacting them and how they're using it. I love this. These are some of the reflections from the students. You can also see here when we do this, there's so much speaking, there's so much talking, there's so much interaction. And this is very important because a lot of times people think when we're doing AI, we all have to be on a screen typing away to ChatGPT. But so much of AI use can really amplify speaking, writing, collaboration in person. It's just all about the intentionality of design. So this was a student who said, I used to think AI was bad and only used for cheating. Today I learned AI is not bad, but we have to make wise decisions when using it. This is another favorite of mine because in the scenarios, I think I added this to your guys's as well. We do scenarios around gaming, how AI is used in gaming. We do scenarios around how AI is used in health. I just got an Aura ring from my sisters as a present. This is all AI. This is like on my finger. And it's up to me to make a decision about, do I want to give this data over? Do I want to be wearing this all the time? Is it worth it for me to have that analysis and sharing my data in whatever way it is? But again, right or wrong, everyone can have a different opinion. Am I aware enough of that to make that decision for myself? Okay, so hopefully this is like you're following along. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. But we're at the third part now, and that is okay. You got people some exposure with a gallery walk. You introduced the WISE framework. You did some scenarios, and now everyone's like understanding, like, oh my God, this is like a lot. And now we want to be like, okay, but you got to go back to your classroom tomorrow. What can you do with that lesson? And this is where we want people to choose a lesson. And inside the course, I have prompts where you're basically going to upload your lesson in, upload your rubric, and then be like, how do I apply WISE? And I'm going to show you an example in a minute because there are two different ways you can do this. Number one, you upload your lesson, you upload an image of WISE. It's all linked for you inside the course. And you basically say, what are 3 to 4 ways in which I could integrate this framework into my lesson? The other one is a little bit more simple, and that's just you upload your rubric and you have it add WISE as a reflection piece in the rubric. So the students have to mark themselves in that way. And then you can do reflections in so many ways. You can do Padlet, you can do written, you can do a video, you can do pen paper, post-it. There's so many different ways to do this. But again, the number one goal for us isn't to like read every single one. It's we are trying to ingrain in you this habit of asking these questions as you are using these tools. So here's a sample prompt, and I walk you through this video in the course as well. In this one, I taught history, so that's what I was doing it for. But you'll see over here, I have notes, attach the WISE image, attach your rubric, and attach the lesson. So you'll see that all in the example. But in this one, we're using the Spark prompting framework. I teach 10th grade history and I want to integrate WISE into my rubric. The problem is I don't want to be worried about cheating every single time I assign something. My aspiration is that we have a culture of trust and transparency in our class. And the result, I want to see how kids are making decisions, whether AI is part of the assignment or not. Give me 3 to 4 ideas for how I can enhance my lesson. So we come over here, you'll see I just copy and pasted this prompt. You'll see my attachments over here. And now it's going to come over here. It's going to read my documents and it is going to now give me some ideas for how I could integrate this. Now, it's really important to remember this is no overhaul of assessment at all, right? We're still taking that same AP, US history, essay, DBQ that they've got to do, but we are adding a layer of trust and opening the door to that conversation and building that safety in our space where kids know they don't have to hide how they're using it. Because if I'm a high school history teacher, but my school hasn't adopted an AI platform, the idea that I think that kids are not using this tool is ridiculous, right? Across the board now, kids all know about this tool, they're using it. So just because you didn't assign AI as part of the assignment, you are still saying, hey, I know you might be using this, and this is my accountability check. If you are using it, I need you to be transparent and I need you to tell me how and why. And there's a section for it on the rubric. The next phase of this, right? Once we get people past that, no, I need a detector and no, this is cheating, we get people to a place of trust and transparency in their class. Now we can get to a place where we can start talking about, okay, what do we want to do with this DBQ, right? Like, what do we want to do with assessment? What do we want teaching and learning to look like? And this is not just a, 1 week, 1 month thing. This is a next few years type thing. All is going to start with mindset, right? If people can't get past mindset, can't do anything else. If you are interested in, well, like we kind of are ready to take that next step and we kind of are ready to talk about how we could redesign our curriculum and assessment, I did a 20-minute talk on this at Canva Create last year, and they recorded it. And I literally walk through how you can, in 60 minutes, I seem to really enjoy I have 60-minute workshops. I can do a lot in 60 minutes. I talk about how in 60 minutes, you can use Canva and ChatGPT to look at how, as a team, you can begin to rehaul your overhaul or begin to make some bigger changes to your curriculum and the types of activities that you are doing. Another strategy, this one is not in the course. This is a little bit more advanced, but I think many of you are in the boot camp, and so you'll see it inside the boot camp. But another thing that we do to build transparency is we are really big advocates for building workflows for many, many reasons. Number one, it's a cool library, right? If I want to know how I can use AI for a group project and I've got documented workflows, guess what? I can give it to a bunch of other people. The other reason I really like this is it really shows you how important humans are in the process. I think a lot of times when people think about using ChatGPT, they think it's a matter of like, I'm going to open it up, type it in, boom, done. And it's just not that simple. There's a lot of steps that go through that. And the more we become aware of the steps, the more we own, okay, I want to be involved in this step. I'm going to let AI do this step. And then as the tools evolve, we can be like, oh, I had to do that, but now I can hand this off, and that opens the door for me to do this. So we have three sort of markers, human, human and AI alone. Now, with some of the recent updates, to be honest, there's probably more that AI could do, but for the most part, you'll still see it's very much either human or human and AI. So if I was assigning a group project, here's a tentative workflow. Maybe I'm going to have everyone in my group take the Spark type so I know everybody's strengths. Then I'm going to take everybody's results, upload them to ChatGPT, and tell it, here's the assignment. We need you to create a timeline. Here's our schedules that are really crazy. What should our roles be? And give us each a list of tasks. Happens in like 5 minutes. And it's the most beautiful, organized sort of schedule for how you're going to go about completing this project within the timeline. As a human, you're going to be the one to review and refine the results. Human and AI together, you'll do idea generation, you'll research, you'll do all the different pieces of the project. Human and AI will create the deck, prepare the presentation, do the script. But presentation day comes and it's all you human. So this again just builds transparency and really just shows what the workflows look like for different pieces. One of my favorite ways to close out that workshop is this quote, this tweet, sorry, from Greg Brockman. He's one of the co-founders at OpenAI, and he said, it's hard to describe how much you actually learn by doing, carefully considering all factors, making a decision, and taking responsibility for the outcome. It unlocks wisdom that cannot be arrived at any other way. Being able to learn how to make good decisions with your technology is probably one of the most valuable things we can teach people, not just for academics or for the professional life, but just for your like life in general, to have human agency. So like I shared, let me actually get the link to, I have it here. I'm going to drop it into the chat for everyone here. Everything is completely free. If for some reason I have missed something, please just send me an email and let me know. But when you do go in there, it's housed in Thinkific. And when you come here, these are the modules you're going to see. And when you click on each one, just if there's any studies or research things or docs, we've linked them all below for you to be able to see. Missed the first part of the webinar. Yeah, so as soon as I'm done with this webinar, I'm going to edit out some of the like, beginning and like whatnot. And I'm going to upload it in as part of the course. So you will have this full walkthrough available inside the course as well. So if you're like, okay, how did she do that part? Or what did we talk about here? What did we do there? You'll be able to kind of see it all inside the course. And that's it for me. I hope this is super helpful. I'm really excited for you to take it and do it. It's probably one of my most fun workshops. I love doing this. Sometimes when you walk in, always know that you might get people who are like, I don't like AI and I'm resistant. But even if nobody's asking you for this workshop, offer the workshop. If you are part of a school, if you are part of an organization, if there is a conference or something coming up, offer people, hey, let me come in and facilitate this conversation. Hey, we need to start talking about AI in this way, because let me tell you, even if a lot of people don't realize they need it right now, trust me, when ChatGPT 5 comes along, everybody's going to have like a little panic attack. So this will hopefully help you be very prepared to lead in this moment, since you are the ones who invest your time in this way. So thanks everyone for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in Great to see your feedback. I'm glad this is helpful. If you have any feedback, I'll probably be sending an email in like the next 2 weeks, but if you have any feedback for me on the course, I'd love to hear it. It's a work in progress and whatnot. So I'm always looking to help, help others have this conversation. So yeah, if you have any feedback at all, let me know. I'm also known to make mistakes and leave out links. So if I do, let me know that too.